Shattered Vows. Part 1, The Photograph. Mira had never believed in fairy tales. Not until she met Julian. He was the kind of man women whispered about in cafes, tall, magnetic, with a gaze that made you feel like you were the only person in the world. They met at a corporate charity gala, where Mira was photographing the event for her freelance portfolio. He was on stage, accepting a humanitarian award for his tech company's environmental initiatives. She took one photo of him smiling at the crowd, and that single frame captured something that would haunt her for years. They fell in love quickly. Wildly. Intensely. Julian moved her into his downtown loft within 2 months. By the 4th month, they were engaged. His world became hers. The private jets, the weekend escapes to vineyards, the carefully curated life of wealth and admiration, it was intoxicating. But Mira was not blinded by wealth. She was in love with the man, not the empire. Or at least, she thought she was. Their wedding was quiet. Just 20 people. Close friends. No cameras. Julian said he hated attention. Mira believed him. Until the day she found the photograph. It was a lazy Sunday. Julian had gone to play squash with friends. Mira stayed home to clean out a few drawers and finally organize the studio space he had gifted her inside the apartment. In the back of a filing cabinet, tucked inside a folder marked Q3 Reports, was a printed photo. It was a picture of Julian. With a woman. Not Mira. The two of them sat on a boat, champagne glasses in hand, kissing like no one else existed. At first, she thought it was old. Before her. But there, on Julian's wrist, was the watch Mira had given him on their first anniversary. A custom-made timepiece. He'd said he would never take it off. And here he was, wearing it, in another woman's arms. Part 2, The Silence Between Words. Mira stared at the photo for nearly 10 minutes. Her hands were shaking, but her eyes were dry. There were no tears, not yet. Just a dull, expanding void in her chest, like her soul had taken one deep breath and refused to let it go. She didn't call him. She didn't scream. She simply placed the photo back where she found it. But something had shifted. A part of her, once soft, trusting, open, had begun to calcify. That night, she pretended to sleep before Julian returned. She listened to the gentle clink of his keys on the marble counter, the quiet exhale as he unbuttoned his shirt. He crawled into bed and placed a warm hand on her waist like he always did. Mira lay still. The next morning, she smiled at him as he kissed her forehead and left for the office. Then she got dressed, took her camera, and left the house for a different kind of mission. She started watching. Not just Julian. But the pattern. The text messages that came late at night, always followed by a heading to the gym excuse. The weekends he said he needed to clear his head alone in the cabin upstate. The receipts he never hid well enough. It wasn't just one woman. There were 3. 3 different women. 3 separate lives. 3 lies she had unknowingly slept beside. But it was the 4th that shattered her. Julian had a second home. Not the cabin. Not the penthouse she lived in. A small, cozy townhouse in Brooklyn. Where he lived with a woman. And their daughter. Mira found out on a rainy Thursday. She followed him, kept her distance, heart pounding so loudly it drowned out the city noise. She saw him knock on a red door, carrying groceries and a stuffed toy giraffe. The door opened. A little girl screamed, "Daddy," and ran into his arms. The woman kissed his cheek. She wore no ring. But she was smiling like a woman who believed in forever. Mira took one picture. Just one. She didn't even look at it. She simply walked away. Final part, the exhibition. 6 months later, Mira stood in the center of a small but crowded gallery in Soho. The walls around her were lined with photographs, moments frozen in time, stories told in light and shadow. Each photo was raw, emotional, deeply human. At the center of it all, behind a velvet rope, was her final piece. A large black and white portrait of Julian, smiling, holding a child in his arms. The title. Truth Wears Many Faces. She didn't name names. She didn't need to. The image spoke for itself. Critics called it bold, honest, devastating. Julian never showed up. But she knew he saw it. And that was enough. That night, as the last guest left and the lights dimmed, Mira sat alone on the gallery floor, sipping wine and staring at her own reflection in the glass of the frame. She wasn't broken. She was awake. And for the first time in years, truly free.